So, hello everybody. It is me, Demetra Kaye, and I am sitting here with Donovan, the recovering Democrat Sadiq, also known as the Black Yule Brenner. He's a tiny bit under the weather today, as I think we all are. I got a little bit of a sore throat and all that. I guess it's just the changing of the weather, but we're gonna get through it nevertheless. Of course, we are not live, but we'll be back here at 5 o'clock Central Time for our live show. So please join us there. The purpose of the Demetra K Show is to promote Black love, knowledge, and understanding of all things that go on in the Black community to make us an even better people with the emphasis on even because we are great people, but we can always try to do better. Also, I'd like to say that we're going to talk about what happened with Tiny and T.I.'s son King at a football game. And we're also going to talk about a video that was sent to me in regards to a woman who was in a bar and something very unwanted happened to her. So we'll get into that. Donovan, how are you doing other than
Exactly. You guys hear my voice. It's really, really messed up. I'm congested this time of year, but I'll get over it a little bit. But welcome to the Demetra K podcast. We love that you guys have come back and tune in with us. We appreciate it. If you look at the scrolling banner at the bottom, if you want to donate and keep Demetra motivated to continue to make these great videos, please go ahead and send your donation in appreciation to any one of those applications down there, and she will receive 100% of your donation versus YouTube, which takes 40% of the donation. Also, do not forget to tune in to Demetra K on Sundays, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, where you, the co-hosts, come in. And I mean, Demetra was one of the first to do it. I've noticed a lot of podcasters now are starting to do live interactions. You know, so Demetra, you were one of the first ones to do it, pioneering that aspect. Also, you guys, the revolution will not be televised. So please, please, if you have not done so, I've done it. I've joined the African Diaspora News Channel.org, or you could download the app, and it's on Google Play and Apple in the Apple Store. And on that platform, you still get to see the great videos. You get all the notifications, all the different contributors. It's a great app, tells you what's going on in our community. And then you can also say what you want to say, how you want to say it without being censored. So again, please download the African Diaspora News Channel app, or you can go to the website in African Diaspora News Channel.org and go ahead and join up there, and we can chop it up and talk about where we stand in this Sodom and Gomorrah of America that we live in right now.
Yep. So it's AfricanDiasporaNews.org, AfricanDiasporaNews.org. And we love and appreciate you for doing that. So anyway, all right. So there's been a lot of things that has unfolded this week, I guess. Of course, we know there's stuff on the national level and international level. Of course, we'll talk about those things from time to time. Of course, we like to talk about politics, but we kind of want to wait for it to get a little bit closer, unless something really egregious arises that we need to talk about, we will. But when it comes close to campaign season, we will. But today we're going to talk about something that happened this past Sunday at an Atlanta Falcons game, which was that of Tiny, T.I., and their son King. Now, of course, you guys don't know who Tiny and T.I. are. Well, T.I. is a rapper. And Tiny was from the group is, because they still perform, Escape. Okay, so between the both of them, they have a son. They have several children, but this particular son in general, that I'm speaking of, his name is King, and he was at a Falcons game this past Sunday, and they were in the suite, as they would be, because they got a lot of money between them. So they wouldn't expect them to be sitting among the commoners, right, in the nosebleed seats. Nevertheless, somehow an argument broke out, and I won't show y'all the video because King has removed the video, and so I know it's all over the internet. Y'all can watch it if you want, but I kind of want to respect his privacy because he took it down. Okay, but I'll try to explain to you as best I can. So an argument ensued, and from that point, he went live, right? So it's a lot of chaos going on in the video live, and he was verbally sparring with his mom and his dad, and there's a couple other people there. You kind of hear them in the background, but it sounds like the point of contention was him growing up without, or growing up struggling, because it has been known that I guess he lives with his grandma, and he's always lived with his grandma. In fact, he said on Funny Marco podcast that he would only go and live with his parents during taping, because y'all know that Tiny and T.I. had a show called The Family Business or something like that on VH1. So he says, yeah, I would go to the house when it was time to film. But other than that, I've always lived with my grandmother, which it sounds like it's Tiny's mom. All right. So it sounds like from that point, Tiny and Ti was giving him the business. You can hear Ti saying, "Oh, do you know what it's like to grow up with a roach on your face?" And then somebody says something about a roach in your ear. I want to say that I don't know what that's like. And oh Lord, thank you that I don't know what that's like. Okay. And so then he's kind of going back and forth with them. Um, and then somebody was saying, you grew up with a silver spoon in your mouth, which you would imagine he probably did because his parents are wealthy, right? And then Tiny said, "Oh, you were over your grandma's house because you sucked the pacifier till you were 12." And I thought that was really below the belt. You know what I mean? But nevertheless, it kind of got even more so heated to where it sounds like T.I. ended up putting King in a headlock, and then from that point, I guess it turned off. But King had gone on to say on several postings that I stand on business and all this other stuff. And then he made one post that kind of says, I'm paraphrasing, but you can tell he wasn't in a good space, you know. So there's been a lot of conversation, opinions, and everything about what had ensued. And so I'm going to give my opinion. But Donovan, what do you think about it?
Ice Cube had a song. I had beef with Pops and I tried to knock Pops out. I got tossed. I lost. He's the boss. Hey, it is what it is. You want to challenge your dad? Hey, it comes down to that. And that's more of a father-son thing. When the son thinks that they are grown enough to challenge the dad, and let's say the son wins, then what he says goes. But in most cases, the father wins. And what we say goes. Thank God for his father to keep him grounded. Now, T.I., I'm not really a big follower of T.I., but I know he calls himself King of the South as a rapper. And he had a lot of hits, I guess. And he actually lived that life, country life of, being in the streets and, coming from a makeshift type struggle life. He lived that struggle life. And the good thing about him, you can say what you want about him, but I can say this as a man and as a fellow father, he was there for his children and made sure his children didn't live the life that he led. And unfortunately, and nothing against King, but come on, dude, you're 5'2", you get your height from your mom, you're super light skinned, you look like you do. I mean, you're almost predatory out there in the streets. And let's face it, even though you live with your grandmother, I'm very sure grandmother was taken care of as you were taken care of by both your parents. So you open the refrigerator, it was always full. You might live in the hood with your grandmother or out there, but that Mercedes you drove to high school, you're not living a struggle life, dude. And this is what I was saying on my podcast, Demetra. We got to start grounding these kids and start telling them the truth of what's really out there and what's actually happening. Like I said, I have no problem with what T.I. did. That's his son. And yeah, his son is grown. But when you want to pop up against dad, you deal with those consequences. Simple as that. And another thing is too, real quick. This is why, Demetra, back in our day, even though we're grown, I'm not going to get in a confrontation with my parents. I'm not going to do it. I'm in the box because of my parents. I'm enjoying the thing because of my parents. You know what I mean? But these kids nowadays, they just think you come from the suburbs and you want to go to South Central Los Angeles in the 90s. And, I'm hard too, because I heard a couple rap songs. I got an NWA album, It's just sad. Reality, and I'm very sure his dad's going to give him some reality about the situation.
Yeah, so I've kind of been following the situation, but I followed the situation even before this happened. As far as with King, I know that he's been into a couple of what you call internet beefs with people. Charleston White is one of them, and unfortunately, people like to make the fun of the way he looks. He being King, like I said, very light skinned. He's got big lips, big eyes, which some people consider to be Afrocentric. But King is a kid essentially. Yeah, he's 19. He's 19, but he's still a kid. I know some people will say, "Oh, well, he's a man. He's an adult." Yeah, chronologically, he's an adult, but he is a kid. And yeah, I keep hearing people make that argument of, oh, you had the silver spoon, oh, you had money, oh, you were wealthy, oh, you were this, that, and the other. But I think what people fail to realize is money does not equal love. Money does not buy you love. Money does not make people feel loved. If they do feel loved, it's a temporary thing, and it's not really love. And so you have children, because I've heard this before from people who grew up with money, and I actually know some children who grew up with money, and they have some issues. You grow up with money. Unfortunately, sometimes your parents think that's all I have to do is just give them money. Oh well, you went to the best schools, or you rode in the best cars, you wore the best clothes, but did you tell me you love me? Did you show me that you love me? Now I know when you pay the bills for somebody, that's some sort of love, right? It shows you that I care enough about you. Make sure that you are in a good environment and you all that kind of stuff. But does that really equal love? Money does not equal love. And this little boy, to me, is a little boy, right? Not trying to little boy him, but to me, he's a little boy, right? What he is saying, and I think it's so sad that people aren't hearing him. From what he's saying is, I didn't feel loved. And for whatever reason, I need to go stay over my grandmother's house. Yes, she loved me. He always, speaks highly of his grandmother. But we also got to remember, too, grandparents, when it comes to raising the children, they're grandparents. They're not in the raising the children's mind frame. They don't have that hat on like they did with their own children. When you get your grandchildren, they come over. It's like, okay, I want to love you. I want to spoil you. Okay, yeah, the world is not treating you right. I'm going to try to shield you from that, right? So I don't blame his grandma, and I don't even blame him, because if he was over his grandma's and she was raising him, she did the best that she could. It wasn't her job. I don't care how much money T.I. and Tiny gave her, bought her a house, or whatever the case is. That still was not her job. And unfortunately, the child, he has grown up, for whatever reason, when he was over there learning, I'm over here with my grandmother instead of my parents. But from what he says, you bring me over here when it's time for reality television for them to come over here, and we're playing like this big happy family. And I've watched the show. It was a cute show, and they had some issues or whatever. But then when they yell cut, I go back to my home. So what he's saying is, I didn't grow up. I grew up in a struggle or something like that. I think that's kind of what he was saying. Did he mean money, or did he mean mentally? You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to say this too. One thing I really hate about this internet, which is why I try to stay off it as much as I can, unless I'm looking for stories to do, is because it is very horrible and it's very mean. Because a 19-year-old child, and people run around talking about how bad he looks and this, that, and the other. And it's like, well, first of all, he's a kid, and you got grown-ass people talking about how bad he looks. It's like, clearly this guy has got something going on mentally and emotionally. So what we're going to do, him harm himself or something, and it's like, I don't know. I just wish sometimes people would just grow up some and really just, and that's the other thing too about the internet. I always say this: be careful who you follow on the internet, because I get it. People talk about things for clicks and likes and views, and it's easy to talk bad about King. But if we're really interested in helping our people, helping people in his situation, then we need to have a more intelligent conversation, and and bring it from the surface as far as his looks, his hair, that kind of stuff, and say, hey, what's really going on with that kid, But again, a lot of times too, you talk to people in prison. One thing they'll say is, I felt abandoned. I wish my parents would have cared more. I wish they would have, imposed some more expectations or something like that on me. So money, yeah, but do you love me with all that money in your bank account?
I agree with everything you just said there. However, I disagree at the fact that when you become of legal age, like I tell my nieces and my son, if you thought I did such a bad job as a parent, you are now in a position to do better for your children. It's easy to sit there and armchair quarterback. Well, mama should have done this, daddy should have done that, right? But the point is, it's like I look at my own situation. My mother is a widow. She's got 2 sons. My mom whipped ass first, asked questions later. Okay. Now, is that a good way to parent? In my opinion, no, it isn't. But she did what she had to do. I'm never going to judge my mom on what she had to do. But when I became of age, I said, these are the things I'm not going to do with my children. And, we have to, I honestly believe we have to stop liberalizing everything when it comes to the way a certain people raise their children. Let them raise their children to the best of their ability, and good luck to you in life. King, if he has problems or whatever, you're 19 years old now. Now, Demetra, you know, I have relatives that keep blaming their parents on how they were raised. Oh, and it wasn't there, and da, da, da. Okay, we get all that. You're now 30 something years old. What's your excuse now? Your parents have, cut the ties. You're a grown person. You can do what you want. I think it was in the movie Menace to Society, where Charles Dutton was sitting there, and he was talking to the younger people, and he was saying, or one of the kids were saying, hey, I'm very sure your grandparents tell you right from wrong, but you choose to do what you want to do anyway. It doesn't matter. They told you what you needed to do, but you went the other direction. And that's where we're at, and the thing is, when do we tell these young adults, hey, we get it. You had a crappy life. There are people that had crappier lives than you. From this moment forward, what are you going to do to be better? Take that baton and be better. That's where I think we need to start telling people, give them a dose of reality. We can't go back in time. What I would tell King right now, hey, dude, if you're about business and all this other stuff, and you got your shit together, whatever, let's remove that hedge around you that your parents have provided for you, and you go out there and get it yourself. That's what I think we need to start doing, because that would be a better dose of reality in the aspect, we get how you feel, but unfortunately, we can't go back in time.
So it's when I was listening to you, and I agree with you. When I heard what you're saying, immediately came to my mind is a quote from Frederick Douglass, who's an abolitionist. And he says it's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. So I want to say that again. It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. And I think that's really the issue, one of the issues, because I don't know what's all going on in King's household or his head or with his parents. But we need to spend more time building our children up, really pouring life into them, pouring good things into them. Because, when they become adults, it is harder to talk to them. And we are often say, you're an adult now, go do what you need to do. It's like, okay, but what is that? Did you necessarily teach me what I was supposed to do? It is often said that a first generation of millionaires rarely raise a second generation, because the first generation of millionaires, they end up spoiling their children. Oh, I don't want them to struggle. I don't want them to work hard like I have to do. I don't want them having roaches, crawl on their face or what have you. And so they just remove them completely for what a struggle is. But I think the struggle needs to be defined, right? Like, of course, if we grew up poor, eating Spam sandwiches and all that other stuff, you don't want your children to endure that, but they should learn how to at least get something out the mud on their own. What it means to actually put your hands or your mind to something and watch it manifest, right? That's what we need to start teaching our children. But I'm one for putting children out, not saying that they put him out, but just into the world, right? Unequipped to even know what to how to navigate it. Now, my thing is, he's chronologically a man, but does he have valid points? Does he have valid points? I mean, clearly the kid, and it's not just King. There's a lot of kids out there, a lot of young, Black men out there. They're hurting. They're not being heard. Nobody's actually just saying, "Hey, son, let me put my arm around you. Let's have a conversation. What is eating you? Remember the movie back in the day, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, which was my mom's favorite movie. What's eating you? Let's talk about it. What seems to be going on?" But I don't know. And I'm not saying Tiny and T.I. didn't do that. I'm sure they maybe tried. But really, somebody needs to get next to him and say, son, what's on your mind? Because clearly it ain't about money. Clearly it's not about, material things. It sounds like he's got all that he'll ever have, but he's missing is a void, and it's love. It's being understood. And so I want to know, does he have valid points in how he feels? Because per just that little video that we saw, and I'm sure there's way more to it, you hear people leveling things. You don't know what it's like to grow up like this. You don't know what it's growing up like that. And then, you just want to stay with your grandmama's house so you can suck your pacifier till it's 12. See, I think she's a horrible human being for that, because nobody needed to know that he was sucking the pacifier till he's 12. This is a 19-year-old who, is chronologically grown, but your mama is telling people that you suck the pacifier till you're 12. Now I get it. Perhaps King was saying some things he should not have been saying, but I feel like when you say put stuff like that out in the private, because people are joking about it now, suck the pacifier till it's 12. But it's like, well, why was he sucking the pacifier till he's 12? That didn't have nothing to do with him. That had everything to do with you as his parents. That for whatever reason, because we know that when babies suckle on a pacifier, it's a security thing. So he did that till he was 12. Why did he do that till he was 12? 12 being a minor, being a child. Why was he holding on to that? Was it because he was at his grandma's house? Was it because his parents did not make him feel like a secure human being? But to put that out there, oh, that's why you sucked your pacifier till he was 12. I think that is very horrible. And as I said, on the internet is forever, and some things you can never be redeemed from. And on top of people calling him ugly and a whole bunch of other stuff, now they're going to add on that he sucked the pacifier until he is 12. It's crazy.
Yeah, like I said, everybody has their demons. I had a couple rich friends, and they would say, "Oh, Donovan, you don't know what it's like to live like this." I'd say, "Give me $1 million and let me form my own opinion." Okay, I want to form my own opinion. Don't tell me. Let me form my own opinion. But yeah, it's really sad. But again, as a man and as a father, I'm going to stand on my square and say, if you don't like the way we raised you, like I said, I give my sons the best advice, because a lot of my two boys, because I was gone a lot, they feel, my youngest son used to tell me that, well, Dad, you weren't there. Well, goddamn, somebody's got to fight these wars. Somebody's got to do what they got to do. You know what I mean? I get it. You feel a certain way, but guess what? That's life. That's life. You didn't struggle. You ate. You had clothes on your back. You went on trips, whatever. And I told my son, you're always thinking about you. I'm over there putting my life on the line. What about me? You're just worried about your situation. I could be killed over there. So as men to men, we, unfortunately, at least I do, hey, I get it. You feel a certain way. Do better for your children. At the end of the day, do better than I did. But as we know, when we become parents, that's when we realize that, hey, this is not an easy job. It's just not easy, especially as a Black man in this country. It is not easy. Make better decisions. Do what I got to do. Unfortunately, if you chose to go down this path and do the things I told you not to do, there's going to be repercussions. It is what it is. It's life. You are no different than other people that have come before you and are there with you right now. And that's just how it is.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with T.I. and him putting his son in a headlock, especially if you're being disrespectful. Sometimes you got to, as we talked about on Sunday with the grandmama, pop, when the children were laughing when the uncle was praying. So I don't have a problem with that. Him saying, hey, boy, as my dad would say, you're getting beside yourself. Your daddy said you're getting beside yourself. He was about to, catch one. So that means you better get it together. So I don't have a problem with that. But, as far as being taught appreciation, you don't like what I'm doing, whatever. Yeah, I definitely. But I think we need to teach our children appreciation. We need to teach them to be grateful, which is why, especially nowadays, because there's so much access to everything, parents don't really spend a lot of time making their children earn stuff. They don't spend a lot of time saying, okay, because like when we grew up, we got allowances. We have to earn stuff. You remember, we did celebrate Christmas and you wanted something for Christmas. It's like, all right, well, was you good all year, or were you not getting it because you remember you've been acting up for the last couple of months? Your mom and daddy stood on that. It wasn't no, well, we're going to get it for you anyway. You got bad grades. You got a bad attitude. You're acting. Now we're going to get it because it just hurts me that they won't be able to just have it. So when we was growing up, if you didn't get nothing for your birthday or Christmas, it's because your ass deserved not to get it, right? But nowadays, these kids don't know what it's like to not have. They don't know what they can't even differentiate a need from a want. It's all the same, right?
Uncle Sugar will provide.
Well, it ain't even Uncle Salt, whoever, I need this tablet. I need this cell phone. Do you? Because when I was growing up, now I ain't had no roaches crawling on me, thank God. But when I was growing up, there was a payphone, and you was lucky if you had a dime, because it was a dime when I was coming, a dime to put up in it, okay? And if you didn't go to the payphone, you might have used the office phone at the school. Hey, mom, I'm done with practice. And if you was my mom, she's like, hey, the sun is still up. Y'all walk home, whatever. Or if she had to come pick us up for a doctor's appointment or something like that, then you be at the front of the school. Don't have me waiting outside the car.
Be where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, be where you're supposed. Is you having a cell phone? Is that really a need, or is that a privilege?
Right. You know what? You bring up a good point. When we were little, our parents didn't have to call all over the place to look for us. We were where we're supposed to be.
Period. Right. Yeah. So it's like, but as I said, children don't know the difference now. We knew the difference, right? We knew that you needed a pair of shoes. You didn't need the latest pair of shoes.
I need Jordans. Most of these kids weren't even alive when Jordan was playing.
Yeah. Hold on a second.
But real quick, since you're talking over there, but that brings up a good point. Allowances. My mom did not give us allowance for stuff that we're supposed to do. I mean, she gave us allowance a little bit later, but it wasn't for like our chores. There were certain things we were supposed to do. My mom ain't paying for something you're supposed to do.
Right. Sorry about that. That was my dad calling me back to back, so I had my daughter get it. So it's like the children, they're not taught to appreciate anything, because they don't, I get everything I want. Like I said, we had bedtimes. These children nowadays don't even have a doggone bedtime no more. They be right. all times of night.
Right. And if mom and dad don't give it to me, grandma and grandpa will give it to me.
And which is fine. Grandma and grandpa want to do that, but
not with my kids. You ain't giving my kids shit without clearing it with me.
Well, but that's what I was gonna say. Grandma and grandpa need to be on, and the parents need to be on the same page. He ain't been acting right, mama. Daddy don't give. Oh, he hasn't. Oh no, his grades are bad. Oh, okay. Well, grandson, granddaughter, when your grades get better, grandma and grandpa take you to Disneyland or whatever the case is. But as I always say, I hate to say it, but I don't. It's the truth. This is the worst generation of parents ever, I think, to walk planet Earth. That might have something to do with our generation, because we raised that generation of parents. But then again, too, that whole notion of the village is not there. And as I said, this is the most weeniest generation of parents. I don't want to see my child feelings hurt. Oh, well, they friend got the latest. They got to have the latest too, and all that other stuff. But like I always say to y'all, when I was coming up, there's things you needed to do on the weekend. While you watch Soul Train or whatever the case is, you need to clean up the house. You need to do the yard work, and make sure that you did what you were supposed to do throughout the week. And then you could go off to the mall and the Castle Park, because that's what we did when I was a kid, and wherever else you might be able to go. Got your little allowance, which was $5. You can catch the bus, go to the mall, get you something to drink, something to eat. Then you have a little bit of money left over for the Castle Park, and then you got your ass back on the bus. And you came back home. Also, Sunday, I had to be in church. If we did not get up and go to church, guess what? Next weekend was off the table. You were in the house. So like we had consequences and rewards tied to, to doing stuff. But these kids nowadays, and then we get mad at them. And then we want to undress them in front of the world on social media. Well, that's why you this and that. What you didn't teach him that. So whose fault is it?
Right. One thing you forgot in your Castle Park thing. See, Demetra be trying to be so pious. Demetra don't be telling the whole story. You're at Castle Park, you got your little $5, whatever. Where's your notebook to get those phone numbers as you're walking around Castle Park?
Well, yeah, you had a little bit of that too, whatever. And when I was a kid, yeah, there was boys and stuff there, but I knew I couldn't really talk to boys until I got a certain age or have a boy. I could talk to boys, but have a boyfriend. So I didn't even really bother, it was like, but yeah, so there was expectations set upon us, but there's no expectations for these children now. They just get, and then they get mad if they can't continue to have stuff. But with Tiny T.I., it's like they need to really do some introspective, some really self-evaluation and say, well, what did we do to cause him to feel this way or to turn out this way? Because it sounds like their other children are, doing fairly well. So,
Well, I can say in my own behalf, I raised my kids the way I was raised. And I remember a lot of his friends would be like, oh, you're so hard. A lot of my coworkers, oh, you're so hard on your boys. You're so hard on your kids. Let them have this. No, it's easy to say that now as their children. I'm giving them a false impression of what the world is really like. Ain't nobody going to go to this kid talk about, here's a 6'2" black man, 270 pounds, whatever he is. And everything's going to be easy for him. So I didn't give my kids stuff that they wanted. I gave them what they needed, just like my mom did for me. And I'm not saying I'm all that, but look at myself versus my contemporaries. I didn't struggle. I struggled in the fact of excelling. I didn't get 1 degree. I got 12. Everything the military offered me, I took advantage of it because of the way I was raised. Hey, it's free, take advantage of it. It's this, do this. It's part of your benefits, do that. And I raised my son the same way. And I look at all those liberals, friends of mine who had children. Children ain't shit, on drugs. They're doing this, they're doing that. They haven't launched. Some of them are still living with their parents. They haven't launched. My sons, hey, it is what it is. I gave you all the tools to be successful.
Yeah, there's some, that is true. There's some people living, children that have not launched for whatever reason. And I can fully say, my daughter, she lives at home. That is a choice of hers, and I don't mind that she stays here. She's a single woman, 30 years old or whatever the case is, and when it comes time for her to leave, she gets married or whatever the case is, then so be it. But I've always been very demonstrative about that. Not, kicking my daughter out the house. Again, she's here because she wants to be. Um, but while she is here, I should say, she is learning. She's learning how to continue in going into womanhood. Right? She's a woman, but I'm a mom, and those lessons are always should always be taught. And I think that's the other thing in our community is we just kind of, I don't want to say we throw our children out by the wayside. But we don't pour enough into them, because it's one thing to teach them technical skills, and I try to make the difference between hard skills and soft skills. The hard skills is the things that you have to know how to pay the bills. You have to know how to make the money, right? You have to know how to be efficient in your craft. But are you teaching them to be good men? Because, and I'm not saying you, I'm saying in general, good men or good women, because they know how to do something. Does that mean they're good people? You know what I mean? Along with teaching them things, did you go onto the softer side of things and teach them to be loving, teach them to expect to be loved, and all of those things that make you a well-rounded human? I think about when kids are in high school. There's a lot of children, and we're having this conversation with one of my nieces. She's a genius. She's in STEM Academy and all of that, and she'll do well in life as far as that kind of stuff is concerned. But we're talking to her about, okay, get into a sport. She's in little clubs here and there, but become a well-rounded person. That way, when you go to college, and they look at your resume per se, your transcripts, they'll say, "Oh wow, academically you're a genius." But did you do sports? Did you do what makes you well-rounded? Because we're going to have a lot of other people trying to vie for your position here at this very prestigious college. So what sets you apart? So
No,
that's
volunteerism.
yeah,
A lot of people don't do the volunteerism, and you want to go to these Ivy League schools, and they don't have volunteer on their background. And to me, that's what also hurts our community, because nobody wants to pick up the trash. Nobody wants to fix the problems.
Well, yeah. I mean, that stuff too, but just in general. So what the point that I was even making about the high school to college and what you've been doing in high school is the same thing in life. Yeah, you teach your children to, fly, but are they harming other people when they're flying? Are they good to themselves while they're flying? Like, what else are they to, as a person? So those are the things. And because right now we talk about how, this generation of people, especially like in the dating pool, it's very hard out there. It's like, well, of course it is, because they weren't taught how to be good people. They were taught how to do certain things. If you're a woman, you taught your daughter maybe how to wear hair and her makeup and her nails. but you didn't teach her how to be underneath all of that. Like, okay, on the surface, what's behind the booty, right? You didn't teach her to be more behind what's her booty. You only taught her to be a big wagging booty, right? You taught her to look good and to get the boy's attention and batting her eyelashes. But then when that boy or that man comes up to her and she opens her mouth, like they say, when you open your mouth and have people think you're a fool, but when you open your mouth, you remove all doubt, right? So when a man comes up to her, she ain't talking about nothing. All she can talk about is where we gonna eat, or this clothing here, or the hot girl, this, that, and the other. But she can't talk about world affairs. She can't talk about no politics. She can't talk about just anything other than her. She can't do that, right? Most people won't even tell their children. Go read How to Win Friends and Influence People, because that's a big part of it, right? People are now teaching their children you win friends and influence people by getting on the internet with filters and pretending to be people you're not. Opposed to if I have a conversation with you, I'm going to know that you're just a big giant filter because you can't back none of that stuff that you're saying on the internet up. So we got to really start pouring more into our children, because I'm telling y'all this, whoever gets with my daughter is going to be very grateful that she spent the time with not just me, but her father and everybody else, being prepared to be a well-rounded, not just person for herself, but a wife and a mother and whatever else she decides to do out there in the world.
Agreed. Again, I hope they work that out. Thank God he has a father that is there to correct him and course correct and all that other stuff. Because again, I always tell people my mother's a widow. When I see people that have fathers out there that they run their fathers down, they don't really know the whole story. I really feel sorry for them, because at least my father has an excuse for not being there. I have to go get it the way I have to go get it. Okay. And, if I had a father there, my whole life path probably would have been totally different. So big ups to T.I. because he's there for his children. So I give him that. He's there for his children.
Yeah, and I like T.I. I actually do. I'm a T.I. fan. I will say this in admonishment to T.I. And Macy Gray actually said this, and I agree with her 100%. She says, well, King is trying to be like his father. Okay. Now, up until recently, T.I. is glorifying the gangster life and, the all the stuff that his son is aspiring to be. So in some respects, maybe he is trying to be like his father. But see, that's the other thing too, is you got to be careful of the things that you put out there, right? Because one day you're going to have children and they're going to look up to you and this, that, and the other. And like that, they used to say back in the day, older people used to say, don't do as I do as I say. Well, we know that don't work. So you got one hand T.I. talking about, T.I. was arrested a few times for drugs and guns, like not even 10 years ago, the stuff was going on. So it's like, I get it, that King, he should respect his father. I'm not saying he shouldn't, so don't mistake me in that. But T.I. and Tiny, you guys got to come to terms with the blueprint that y'all put out there. Because T.I., you made your money on being the king of the South, and the king of the South came with you being a gangster and all this, the drug running and the guns. That came with all of that, right? So that wealth that you amassed, yeah, I'm sure you got it honest, but look at the stuff that you put out into the world. And so now, as they say, the sins of the father, if you will, have come and visited the son. Now you don't want to deal with it. But it's like, okay, well, if your son is acting like that, how might somebody else's son who looked up to you be acting as well? Are they trying to emulate you, T.I.? Are they trying to do the things that you're doing? And now that you've elevated your consciousness, you're vibrating a little higher. Now you don't want your son to aspire to be like you. But that reminds me of like with Cardi B when she did the WAP, and then she was listening to it, and her daughter ran into the room, and she turned it off really quick. Well, obviously, yes, she don't want her daughter listening to that, but two, I think that made her, and my daughter actually made this good point, that made her a good parent, because what parent in their right mind will want their child listening to that? She did what she was supposed to do, and that was turn the music off and usher her daughter out of there. That is not Cardi B's fault that you're dumb enough to allow your child to listen to her music. That is not her fault, even though she put it out there. So when we as parents or raising children, we have to say to ourselves, what the stuff I'm doing now, would I be proud to have my child know that? Because I'll tell y'all a story all the time. When I was younger, right, when I had my daughter, she was about 2 years old. I dyed my hair. It wasn't blonde, but it was a lighter than this. But my one friend, her hair was blonde and she's black. And my daughter thought she was a white woman. And so it said to me, okay, you need to stop dyeing your hair because, you're not really teaching your daughter who she is naturally, right? So I stopped. I haven't dyed my hair since. I stopped dyeing my hair. This was like when she was 2 years old, but we got to remember the things that we are doing. Our children are drinking of us. They're watching us.
Ain't nothing wrong with Pound Town. My little daughter out there, my booty hole brown. To me, that's a fail. When you're a mother, especially these single mothers, and you're out there and your children, especially your daughters, want to sing Pound Town, you need to be taken out and horsewhipped. Horsewhipped, because that's a fail. And that's another problem that we have. It's just music. Music is influential to the mind. Very influential. It sends a message. So what message are you teaching those young little precious babies?
Yeah. Yeah, it needs to be. It's a thing that people used to exercise a lot, and that's discretion. Parents used to have discretion. As I said, my parents will watch stuff on TV that wasn't inappropriate, but it was inappropriate for me, or my siblings. So it was bedtime. When certain things came on television. I remember my parents used to watch the Rockford Files, and I remember as a kid, one day they were watching it, and I think I came in there for something. I was supposed to go to sleep. I was probably like 5 or 6, and I remember watching a scene where somebody on there was getting their hand, bit by a dog, and I was freaked out. I still remember it to this day. So whenever I think of the Rockford Files, I think of that. Now, there's parents that sit up and allow their children to watch things that are so graphic, whether it's horror movies, it's sexual content, a whole bunch of stuff. So back then, parents used it, and they tell you now, parental discretion advised. Why are we at the point in life where people have to remind you to exercise parental discretion? That was something that my parents weren't. They didn't. Nobody had to tell them to do. Nobody had to tell their parents to do it. It was something they did because it was common sense. Parental discretion equals common sense. So your daughters are going to be listening to Pound Town if you in the car listening to Pound Town with them, or anything else that's inappropriate, because children are sponges. That's what they do. They soak up information. So you're an idiot if your kids are singing anything close to Pound Town.
And to close out before we transition, my nieces, me and my brother, big DJ Quick fans, because DJ Quick is a good artist as well as a rapper. And you can't tell those girls nothing about DJ Quick. They love DJ Quick. But I remember being in the car with them, just rolling with the DJ Quick. I try not to play DJ Quick wasn't really hardcore graphic.
Yeah.
But again, to this very day, as grown women, they think DJ Quick is the greatest artist, one of the greatest artists that ever did it.
Yeah, another thing too is, if your children are listening to certain things, are you pouring some information into them so they can combat what they're listening to? Are you putting anything else into them so they can say, well, it's just music, but I shouldn't be acting like that. I shouldn't be at school singing about my Pound Town and all this other, you know what I'm saying? Are you teaching them something else to kind of counterbalance that? Because nowadays we live in a world where they can't really escape a lot of things that they're going to listen to. I'm one of those parents, and I advocate for that for my nieces and nephews that are younger, is to teach them what you would ordinarily shield from them. That way, when they do learn about it, because they're going to learn about it in school, it's not a shock, right? They'll be like, not a big deal. Teach your children about sex early. That way, when they go to school, they don't get misinformation. Like, oh, no, you can't get pregnant if you do it standing up. Oh, you can't get pregnant if you do it in a swimming pool. Oh, well, if you do, just do a headstand or whatever, and then some jumping jacks, and then you'll be fine. You know what I'm saying? Because we heard all that nonsense when we were in school. But because y'all know I grew up, I had parents that was like, yo, this is what it is at a very young age. So I'm like, okay, that's stupid. You can get pregnant. You know what I mean? If you do it in the swimming pool. Okay. Or if you stand up or whatever the case is, right? So just make sure that you are teaching your children things that they should know. All right. So here we go. Now, this particular video, somebody sent it to me, and I was like, well, this would be interesting for Donovan and I to have a conversation about, because I think it's very interesting. Now, muted the music for obvious reasons on YouTube. But I'm going to put this up here. Donovan has not seen it. He's going to see it for the first time with you all. Pay very close attention. Okay. So again, I muted the music, but she's dancing. She's at a club or bar, or whatever. Nothing out of the ordinary. She's dancing. And as y'all saw there, as she was getting into her groove, some guy comes up to her. He full on grabs her behind. Okay. And then I guess as he was doing that, he asked her if he can buy her a drink. Okay, do you want a drink? And she's horrified, like, what the hell, right? Now, some people were saying, well, she was laughing at the end. She was smiling. And yeah, so Donovan, from what you saw, what's your opinion?
He was getting her attention. What's the big deal? No, I'm joking. I'm joking,
I
guys.
know you're joking.
I'm joking on that one. But I will concede this. In some establishments, depending on where you're at, and if you look at the dude, it ain't like he was in a business suit or whatever. He seemed like he was kind of a normal wannabe street hood type dude trying to live that life. And a lot of guys, they operate like that, unfortunately. Some women, I'm known as an L7. Women don't want to mess with me because I'm an L7. I don't have that edge or whatever it is that they talk about, right? So a lot of women, and this is what Demetra and I always get in arguments. What makes me a man and attractive to a lot of women is my toxic masculinity, being aggressive and all that other stuff. So it's obvious that this guy is living a life in the street because you don't approach a woman like that to get her attention. You could have tapped her on her shoulder or whatever it is, but he isn't about that. Totally unacceptable. At the end of the video, she's laughing. I don't know. But totally unacceptable. She's getting her groove on. And unfortunately, in some places in the United States and around the world, that is no big deal, to grab the woman like that, so it's unfortunate.
Yeah. So again, she was at a club somewhere, dancing, and she had a dress. She was fully clothed, right? And I'm not saying that's why he did. I'm just trying to give it context. She's fully clothed. She's not dancing salacious. She's just, kind of, she's dancing. She ain't rolling around. She's dancing, just normal dancing, as I think most people would if you're feeling you groove, whatever. And then he comes up to her and he full on grabs her butt. Now, some people took it. They noticed that she laughed at the end. Well, that laughter could have been a whole lot of things. The smile could have been a whole lot of things. It could have been a ball of nerves. Somebody does something like that to you. It's a lot to process. Is he joking? Is he serious? This mother effer? Like, it's a lot going on. And so for her to smile or even laugh was probably like, like, what the hell type of thing, because I think that would have been me. I would have been like, what the hell? Like, is he serious? Because you're processing, you're dancing to yourself because she had her phone propped up there. So she's probably doing it for whatever reason she's doing it. And then she catches some pervert, who should have his understanding rearranged, come up to her and full on, he didn't accidentally brush her, but he grabs her behind. And can I buy you a drink? So what is that supposed to be, a trade-off? Like, what are we doing here, jerk?
Some women like that, though. They like that masculinity.
Yes, but he didn't know that she liked that. Doesn't even look like she knew the dude. So he didn't know if she liked that or not. So what he did was he went up to her. First of all, that's assault. That is assault to put your hands on somebody, and then you add sexual assault. That's what that is. So it's like he didn't know that lady liked that or not. And furthermore, you want to buy me a drink? You ask me, hey, beautiful, fine, gorgeous. I'm just playing. Can I buy you a drink? Are you thirsty? What are you drinking? But to just grab my butt, had it been he lucky that it was her. And I'm not saying anything she did was wrong. I think, most people would have had that reaction. But what if she would have, sliced and diced him because she had a purse? She'd have reached up in there on him or something and ripped out her razor blade or something. Then everybody been, he was just playing, lighting up and all that other stuff. But at the nobody, I don't care if that woman was in that bar and 2 cotton balls and a Band-Aid, he had no right putting his hands on her. Now, had it been me, I'd have cussed him up one side the other and say, you better have your ass up out of here before I call somebody to meet you at your car. That'd have been me. Because you don't be putting your hands on me like that. I don't care what you drinking, how fresh and fruity or whatever you feeling like. I am not to be putting your hands on, right? But I don't care what she had on, what setting they were in. If she did not invite him to do that to her, he's wrong.
But again, unfortunately, we live in a world where the city girls, to a lot of city girls, that's acceptable. That's an acceptable thing. I wouldn't do it, but unfortunately, it's acceptable to some women. It just is. If we lived in a perfect world, I would agree with you, but we don't. We don't. It's I have a problem with the way women dress. I have a problem with the way women do their hair. I have a problem with a lot of things. But guess what? That's my problem, not their problem. But that's the world we live in, Demetra. So I see what you're saying, but obviously she didn't have too much of a problem with it because she didn't get hysterical or she didn't seem offended by it from what I saw. So I didn't see the end of the video, the complete end of the video. She probably could have done a lot of stuff, but unfortunately, we have generations of women that are being raised to get with Ray Ray and Pookie and these guys in the streets and all this other stuff, and they're willing to accept being treated as less. It's just sad. It's sad.
Well, I want to say this, and this is probably where the rubber gonna meet the road for us a little bit. The city girls do not speak for all women. City girl culture does not speak for all women. In fact, I don't even think it speaks for most Black women. Again, city girl culture that gets blown up all over the internet as a thing. It's a thing, but how much of a thing is it? Because I can go just about anywhere and I don't see the city girl culture just running wild, right? I guess if I was in that atmosphere, then yeah, I would probably see it. But again, the city girls culture don't talk about all women. But even if she was a city girl, that city girl did not ask him to do that. And so when we, talk about city girl culture and all that other stuff, it almost absolves him of his behavior. And I'm an advocate of this. I don't care what that woman has on or whatever it is. No man has no right to put their hands on her. And even if he deemed her to be a city girl, that doesn't make him to be a pervert or whatever it was. You could call him out a lot of other things I'd like to call him, but that does not give him a green light to do that because some city girl over here may act like that or this, that, and the other. And Ray Ray and Pookie and all that other stuff. Ray Ray and Pookie, and I would say that's even a slap in the face to Ray Ray and Pookie because there's a lot of Ray Ray and Pookies who don't behave that way. Yeah, they might have their. Well, let me finish. Okay. They might got their issues, but there's a lot of Ray Rays and Pookie who still got the sense God gave her cricket and not put their hands on a woman like that, especially if she ain't invited them to do that. And as far as being offended, what does that even look like? If I didn't say a word, that don't mean I'm not offended. Because for one thing, regardless if I was demonstrative, I did some backflips, I pulled out my razor blade on you, or whatever the case is, I never invited you to do any of that at first. And so second of all, why do I wouldn't have to react if you never put your hands on me in the first place. So I think we should be careful of the narrative that we put that, because it's the city girls and the Ray Rays and the Pookies and all that, that maybe that's kind of why he felt compelled. I don't know.
Well, like I said, I'm not disagreeing with your opinion, but I deal in reality. And some people just don't have any home training. They weren't trained. They look at women as objects. And it is what it is. There are some people that actually do that. So I'm not disagreeing with you, but I do know in the real world, you got assholes out there that think they can treat women any old way. And some women will accept it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And another thing too is she caught that on video. Now, how often does that really happen when it's not caught on video? I mean, like I said, I'm a woman. Even when I was before I became 18, I have grown men and even, boys my age say stuff that's inappropriate and things like that. I've been groped before, by grown men and, all that kind of stuff. So she just happened to catch that interaction on video because she's recording. But I'm telling y'all, it happens more than we can ever imagine. And regardless of what's going on, because even when I was coming up, was there a city girl culture? I don't know. I'm sure there was something equivalent. But being groped and spoken to inappropriately as a young girl and and a woman, there was nothing I did or said to warrant that. I mean, I've heard stories from my grandmothers, from my mama, of being inappropriately handled or whatever. My mom said one time she was like 14 years old, and she, they lived in Connecticut, so the buildings, she lived in an apartment, and so she said she was home by herself, which she was often, and she said her neighbor, which was a grown man, came over to the house, or he knocked on the door, and so she said she knew who he was, so she wasn't a big deal, but she said she didn't take the chain off the door, but she opened it and she's like, hi, can I help you? And she said, this is a married man. He was like, go on and let me in. I know your mama ain't home. Why don't you let me in? And she was like, I know, and closed the door, and she says another time when she, because my mom had acne real bad as a teenager. So her mom sent her to the dermatologist. And so she says, as the dermatologist was working on her skin, he was breathing really heavy. And like he was aroused by her. And she said he was really close and just, aroused by her. She says, I was a kid. So I'm telling y'all that story is because I really think we need to be careful because, because certain people act away in society, that does not mean that it's all right. People acting ill behaved and all that other stuff. But she just happened to catch it on video. But what about all the other interactions that people don't catch on video? My daughter said she was somewhere not too long ago and a man grazed her on her breast. And it's like, now if I'd have shanked you or something, then I'd have been in the wrong. Then they would have been wrote up, oh, she tripping. But you would have never believed me if I told you this man touched my breast and I don't know this fool. And even if I did, why are you touching me?
Yep. Again, I'm gonna tell you this for the young men out there. With this Me Too movement and what's going on with P. Diddy and Cassie and stuff, I am petrified of women right now because it's almost like anything you do, you are risking losing your livelihood. So tread lightly when dealing with women. If you can't treat these women with respect and and treat them like human beings, don't interact with them because you can be caught up in some crap.
Yeah, I mean, but more importantly, but I get it. There's some women out there who be doing the most, but again, just do what you're supposed to do, and especially if you don't know this woman, don't be with this woman by herself. Do the doctor's office visit. Back in the day, doctors would be in the rooms with women, examining them by themselves, which I think was always stupid. But then when women started to complain that, hey, this man was all up in my kitty cat with no gloves on,
hand rocks the cradle.
Yeah, all that, or he was, just doing a little too much. Then they started having the nurses come in the room with them. So that way the doctor could say, all right, I'm protected. Nurse, you're a witness and you're handing me tools and things like that. But everybody feels safe, right? So as men, y'all need to start adhering to that. What would a doctor do? Would a doctor be in a room by himself or should he be? Same thing is true for men. But to tell men that you're petrified, and yes, you're right to be petrified of women. But after all I just said as a woman, and I'm not, I get it, like I said, no women lie, but all I just said from me being a small, not, even small girl, I got stories for that too, right? To being a grown woman, I've always had men say and do inappropriate things to me as a woman. And I'm just telling you that as a woman, and I know every woman I know has that story, right? But then this woman catches it on video, and now it's this discussion whether she liked it or not, this, that, and the other. But it's like, let's have a discussion about men being appropriate, because we have a lot of discussions on here about women, being appropriate or inappropriate. Let's have that discussion that, boy, I'll break your neck if I hear that you put your hands on a woman inappropriate. I don't care what she said. I don't care what she has on, right? But to say I'm petrified of women, I get it. I totally get it. But women are petrified every day. Every day. Every day of a man maybe saying something to him or doing something to him, saying something inappropriate and all of that. So we need to get some balance back in this world and be appropriate. Because I'm going to tell you right now, in the nation, they don't cut for none of that at all. You say or do something to they women, you probably ain't going to be here. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave it at that. But we need to start teaching each other to be appropriate. But yeah, petrified of women, I get it. But as a woman, I just told y'all about how what I've dealt with, my mama dealt with. So it sounds like women should be just a little bit petrified too. Now we in 2023, and that man, after you mentioned the Me Too, that believe all women and all that other stuff, he's still putting his hands on women in ways he ain't got no goddamn business. See, the problem is he didn't know she was recording, so he got cold busted. That's what happened. Because then he was going to completely probably lie and say, oh, I didn't do that to her. Or I just accidentally bumped up to her. But he got busted. That's what happened.
All right.
So anyway, we're going to be back here. We got an interesting topic. I think we do. Something along the same lines, but just a little bit different. So anyway, in the meantime, you guys, please feel free to donate to the channel. Again, go to AfricanDiasporaNews.org, AfricanDiasporaNews.org. Sign up for that app, because the more of y'all that we get to come over there, or go over there rather, then the less we have to be on here, and we could, be a little bit less liberal. You know what I mean? With our content. So in the meantime, we'll see y'all later. Peace.